Welcome back to Review Lens. One day, some Hollywood genius decided on a movie plot to drop 12 criminals into World War II, tell them they won't survive, and then hand them guns. It was one of the coolest, roughest, and most rewatchable war movies of all time. The Dirty Dozen. Released in 1967, this film didn't just hit hard with explosions and bullets, it kicked the whole war movie genre in the teeth. Starring Lee Marvin as a tough-as-nails major with zero patience for rules, and backed by a squad of some of the wildest characters ever put on screen, The Dirty Dozen is all about second chances, bad attitudes, and doing whatever it takes to get the job done, even if it means breaking every rule in the book. Right from the jump, the movie throws you into a world where the good guys aren't really good. And that's the point. Major Reisman, played perfectly by Lee Marvin, is given the worst possible mission. Take 12 military prisoners, murderers, thugs, loose cannons, and turn them into a strike team to take out a group of high-ranking Nazi officers. They'll be dropped behind enemy lines with a one-way ticket and no promises they'll come back. And Marvin? Man, he sells it like no one else. Lee Marvin was a real-life World War II vet, and you can feel that in every gravelly word. He knew how soldiers acted, he knew why they disobeyed, and he knew how heavy the consequences felt. That's why Major Reisman doesn't feel fake. He feels like a guy who's seen too much and still gets the job done. And then there's the cast. You want to talk loaded? This movie is stacked. Charles Bronson, Jim Brown, Donald Sutherland, John Cassavetes, who actually scored an Oscar nomination for his explosive role as Victor Franco, the hothead you love to hate. These guys aren't just throw-ins. They each bring something wild and sharp to the screen. Bronson plays it quiet and cold, Brown breaks out as a powerhouse, and Sutherland, he ends up in the movie because Clint Walker needed a break during filming. So the director threw Sutherland into the spotlight at the last minute for that famous look over the troops scene, and he crushed it. Just straight up owned it in one take. Sometimes greatness happens on the fly. The film was directed by Robert Aldrich, a guy who loved pushing boundaries, and he pushed them hard with this one. War movies back then were usually about heroes and clean uniforms. The Dirty Dozen was dirty, literally. The men are flawed, the mission is messy, and the violence, way ahead of its time. This thing was bloody, raw, and loud, which got people talking back in '67. Studios didn't know if it was too harsh for audiences, but Aldrich said war isn't clean, it's chaos. And he wanted you to feel that. Filming it wasn't easy either. Shot mostly in the UK, the entire fake chateau they blow up at the end, that was a real full-scale set, built just so they could blow it sky high. No CGI here, just real bricks, real fire, and tight schedules. The big finale took weeks to shoot and had to be timed perfectly. If one piece fell early, the whole thing would have looked silly. And on top of that, there were personality clashes. Lee Marvin didn't always get along with director Aldrich, and most of the cast had strong opinions about the script, the shooting, or even each other. But in the end, that tension made it work. These guys weren't supposed to like each other. They were supposed to work together in spite of it, which feels real. Want some cool trivia? NFL legend Jim Brown did his own stunts and almost didn't make the film's final weeks because the football season was starting. Studios begged the NFL to give him more time, and when they didn't, Brown just retired from football during the shoot. That's how wild this movie was. He literally hung up his cleats to blow stuff up in a war film. Also, the training camp scenes where the dozen get their act together, they were shot after 2 weeks of real boot camp with the actors. Some of them came out of it with bruises and stories, just like real recruits. The Dirty Dozen hit theaters during a time when America was deep in conflict. The Vietnam War was all over the news. So having a war movie where the heroes were criminals and the mission wasn't clean-cut felt bold. But it worked. The movie made over $45 million, huge at the time. Audiences loved how gritty it was. It felt more real than the polished dramas that came before, and the Mission Impossible vibe hit hard with teen moviegoers and veterans alike. So why does The Dirty Dozen still matter today? Because it's one of the first movies to say, yeah, war sucks, but sometimes the worst men are the ones you need to do the worst jobs. It gave us action without glamour, rebellion with honor, and dudes who didn't follow rules but stuck to their own code. That final act, with smoke, fire, and death raining down in slow motion, that hits just as hard now as it did in 1967. And the cast? Legends. Every one of them. If you've never seen The Dirty Dozen, now's your time. It's not just a war movie. It's a loud, wild, character-packed blast from the past with more bite than you'd expect. And if you're already a fan, it's worth rewatching just to catch all the little moments that made it great. From Lee Marvin's stare-downs to Brown's big run to Sutherland doing Sutherland things. The Dirty Dozen may not have clean edges, but it's got guts, grit, and more firepower than a tank parade. So give me some comments about Dirty Dozen. Great movie or too comedic? Is this the best Lee Marvin ever? You tell me. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more reviews and deep dives into great movies like The Dirty Dozen. See you on the next one. Save us a balcony seat and extra butter on the popcorn.